Does history repeat itself? In which way does it repeat itself? In which way does it not?
I'm afraid it repeats itself a lot. I think human nature kind of is what it is. And so we tend to see similar behavior patterns emerging again and again. And so it's kind of the exception rather than the rule when something new happens.
What role does technology play in the suppression or in revealing human nature?
Well, the standards of living, life expectancy, all that have gotten incredibly better within particularly the last 100 years. I mean, just antibiotics, modern vaccines, electrification, the internet. These are all improvements in most people's standard of living and health and longevity that exceed anything that was seen before in human history. So people are living longer, they're generally healthier, and so on. But again, we still see a lot of the same behavior patterns, some of which are not very attractive.
So some of it has to do with the constraints on resources. Presumably with technology, you have less and less constraints on resources. So we get to maybe emphasize the better angels of our nature. And in so doing, does that not potentially fundamentally alter the experience that we have of life on Earth?
Until the last 10 or so years, I would have taken that view, I think. But, people will find ways to be divisive and angry if it scratches a kind of psychological itch that they have got. And we used to look at the Weimar Republic, what happened in the economic collapse of Germany prior to the rise of Hitler, World War II, and kind of explain Hitler, at least partially, by just the misery that people were living in at that time.
The economic collapse.
Yeah, hyperinflation and unemployment and the decline in standard of living. And that sounds like a plausible explanation. But there are economic troubles now for sure. We had the bank collapse in 2008, and there's stagnation in some people's standards of living. But it's hard to explain what we've seen in this country in the last few years just strictly on the basis of people are poor and angry and sad. I think they want to be angry.
So without being political in a divisive kind of way, can we talk about the lessons you can draw from World War II?
Sure.
This singular event in human history, it seems like.
Yeah.
And yet, as you say, history rhymes at the very least.
Yeah. Being who I am, I tend to focus on the curious technological things that happened in conjunction with that war, right. Which may not be where you want to go. But
there's several things, and sorry to interrupt. So one in Cryptonomicon is more like the Alan Turing side of things,
yeah,
right?
Right.
And then there's the outside of technology. Well, first of all, there's the tools of war,
yeah.
which is a kind of technology. Mm-hmm. But then there's just like the human nature, the nature of good and evil.
Yeah. Well, so one of the things that emerges from the war and from the extermination camps is that we were never allowed to have illusions anymore about human nature. So you have to learn that lesson to be an educated person, and you have to know that even in a supposedly enlightened civilized society, people can become monsters quite easily.